Conversation the other night, you made reference to some of the sacrifice that he went through to make sure that you were able to receive a great education and have an opportunity to display your skills and your abilities on the gridiron and on the track. Can you talk and speak to what that means to you for your father to step up and position you to be in the right place for the right time?
Yeah, it means everything. Without him, I wouldn't be right here right now. So, I'm just extremely appreciative of that. And, I show him love by, performing and doing what I need to do on the field and out in the classroom. So, I just had to take everything serious, to the point to, show him that it wasn't all for nothing.
Come on. Come on.
We're back with one more down. Today we have Caron Robinson, running back, defensive back, linebacker out of Aquinas Institute out of Rochester, New York. Caron is currently the running back at Penn West University at Edinboro, formerly known as Edinboro University. I had the opportunity to meet this young guy when I returned to the campus for homecoming a couple weeks ago. And by chance, he happened to be wearing the same jersey number that I wore many years ago as a player there. And I was very impressed with the poise and the maturity that this young man showed in our short conversation. And as I got to watch him through that game and find out a little bit more about who he is, he was the perfect candidate to come on and be a part of our platform tonight. And I'm appreciative and grateful that he agreed to do this with me. So I want to give my thanks in advance to you for coming on tonight and being a guest on our platform. And I'm interested to, get to know a little bit more about your background and your story and who you are as a person. So thank you in advance, Mr. Robinson.
Well, I'd like to appreciate you for extending the invite.
As we generally start off on our platform, we'd like to get a feel of who the person is, some of their family dynamic growing up and, the general area that they were born and raised in. So if you would like to start there, could you tell us a little bit about your parents, your siblings, and growing up in Rochester as a young man?
Yeah, so growing up, I was in a two-parent household. We lived in the city of Rochester, and one older sister, one younger brother at the time. And through entering high school, family dynamic kind of changed. So it just became me, my brother, and my dad. Just going through that, it kind of just molded me into who I am now. Stepping up in almost like parent roles, so to speak, just due to having a single parent, So, making sure my brother get up for school, cooking for him, making sure you're all right.
Taking on some of that responsibility and having a shift in some of the lifestyle that you may have gotten used to or been accustomed to coming up as a young kid. Do you think that matured you a little bit faster than some of your peers in that regard?
Yeah, it does. I see that it helps me in my life now, where younger guys, freshmen, or just even juniors, I try to step into almost like a big brother role, leadership role, and it's kind of easy just due to my background, where I'm able to help people in lifts or just everyday things throughout life. Like right now, I'm living with Jerry Dinkins, number 3, the other running back, and I show him little things like cooking, like different ways to cook and stuff like that. So, yeah.
What's the age gap between you and your siblings coming up?
It's kind of big with my younger sisters. I have 2 younger ones now. 6 and 7. My brother is 18. He's actually a freshman at Mercyhurst University right now. He plays running back as well. So, and my older sister, she's 28.
I'm sure your younger siblings, and maybe not necessarily the 2 younger ones, but your 18-year-old brother, he probably got to watch how you went about doing your work and getting after it in the different sports that you've played. Obviously, you're a skilled football player. I see that you were a track athlete in high school as well. Did you play a variety of sports coming up in your youth, or was football the main thing from the get-go?
I started off with football, but football is definitely the main thing. But I did transition to basketball for a little bit. Had aspirations of really doing that. Didn't really grow as much. So kind of had to put that on the back burner, But yeah, my athleticism carried me a long way, especially in that sport, basketball.
Do you come from an athletic background in terms of your family, or is the city of Rochester just a place that supports youth sports as a activity and a pipeline to keep kids with something to do and staying active and just as an extension of school, really? Me being an Ohio guy, I don't have a lot of familiarity with the comings and the goings in the Rochester area. Um, so for you, how would you describe, the typical experience for a youth athlete in that city?
Real competitive. It's just it's a lot of athletes that's there. You just gotta look for them. Uh, like when I was in high school, I had played with a lot of my cousins. There was like five of us on the team, so that's what really made that bond really strong during those times. But uh, just athletically, yeah, it's a lot of athletes that come up out of there. A lot of them travel to different areas. So like coming out of high school, some come from Cali. Just do the moving and stuff like that. But it's very competitive.
And were there any people from your area that you kind of looked up to or may have patterned yourself after? Or is there any personality that hails from your area that may have went on to do great things in football or athletics in general?
Yeah, so the guys, my freshman year when I played varsity at Aquinas, my freshman year, those seniors, Jameer Jones, Ernest Edwards, and Taylor Riggins, Jake Zimback, those guys did a lot of, it's a couple more guys that I didn't get the opportunity to name, but those guys really show what it takes to be a leader in different ways. So, and just having a good work ethic, and having a certain type of mentality about themselves when they step onto the field, so really pull from those guys. And that's what carried me throughout my high school and some of my college career.
And how would you describe the city itself in terms of the lifestyle and what is available to kids and some of the things that you may have to steer and navigate around as you're coming of age?
Definitely the city life. You gotta steer clear of that. That's why I really just try to stay out the way and like worry about what I need to worry about, handle my business. And it's real easy coming from a small town where a lot of people know each other, and you get caught up in the wrong stuff. So kind of just stay true to like myself, and then try to overextend if I wasn't wanted or needed in certain areas. So I just kind of stay to myself in that regard.
And you had made mention of your father uh, being your main parent as you're transitioning through high school. Um, going through a institution like Aquinas. In our pre-conversation the other night, you made reference to some of the sacrifice that he went through to make sure that you were able to receive a great education and have an opportunity to display your skills and your abilities uh, on the gridiron and on the track. Can you talk and speak to what that means to you for your father to step up and position you to be in the right place for the right time?
Yeah, it means everything. Like, without him, I wouldn't be right here right now. So, I'm just extremely appreciative of that. And, I show him love by like, performing and doing what I need to do on field and out in the classroom. So, I just had to take everything serious, so, to the point to like show him that it wasn't all for nothing.
I see that your school has a great tradition in football, a lot of playoff appearances, conference championships, a string of state championships. For a person that goes through a parochial school system, um, you know, what does that do for your confidence? Having that exposure to a lot of winning and high level success, And then are you able to kind of describe how that fits for the area that you come from against the public school or city school system there in Rochester?
Yeah, so like it kind of molds me in a way of like having some type of grit, like it's a certain type of mentality that you had to uphold, you can't just go out there sleepwalking and expecting it to happen. They show you from a very young age, as soon as you get there, of like what it will take, so just being consistent with what they show you, and moving throughout the days, that was the main thing with them.
And you touch on the word grit. You know, what was it that your coaches did to prepare your team to, go out there and try to top the previous season, or maybe be a little bit better than a previous great team? What are some of the program foundations that a institution like Aquinas hangs its hat on in terms of their motto, uh, their core values? How would you characterize it in terms of what the overall feel and the program values are about at that school?
Their main values is definitely tradition. So like they don't try to do too much. They don't really try to be too flashy. They just stick to what they stick to, and like and stacked up the foundation to what it is today. Like so the main thing with them is just sticking to what they know.
Yeah, so you come in there and get a little bit of playing time on varsity as a freshman.
So
Um, so can you take me through some of that early transition, coming into the high school level of ball and being thrust into varsity games at a young age? And then as you're telling me about that, can you give some key memories or thoughts about different experiences and points in your career coming through Aquinas?
yeah, so one of the main things that was brought to my attention was and this is how I approach it, like at every point now. My dad told me, "Hey, it's football, so it's the game that you always been playing. Only difference is speed and strength. So that was the biggest adjustment for me. So just getting in there and getting my couple plays, getting my feet wet with that was like real eye opening early on. But as the years go on, get more comfortable with it, and just rolling with that. That was the main thing. And one of the biggest memories is my sophomore year when I earned a starting job. So nervous, couldn't feel like I couldn't walk. So that was just a big adjustment right there too. So
You guys hit the ground running your first year. You bring home a state title. Um, when you come into an atmosphere like that, and you reach the peak of the mountain the first go around, does that put more pressure on you going into your sophomore year, your junior year, or is that just the expectation of where you're supposed to be for the tradition that is woven in that program?
I guess it's a little bit of both. It's obviously some pressure to like they get back to that point, but it's also expectation because like that was the reality of it, of the tradition. So every year we just approach it like nothing really happened. We just gotta be hungry and fight for it, like we never won. You know.
And then, what role does academics play in conjunction with athletics? In the um, overall makeup of the school. Are the two hand in hand? Is one valued more than the other? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh no, that was very strong academically. That's part of the reason why I had to make that move to go to that school. That was really at the time, at that moment in time, that was like the best fit for academics and sports. So those go hand in hand. If you didn't do well in the classroom, you did not play.
And did that prepare you very well to enter into the college level and balancing the responsibilities and the time management of being a college level athlete and a student?
Yes, sir. They did a good job preparing us for the college life.
You in your senior year, you guys go out with another state title. Um, you missed 6 games due to a broken hand, um, and I think you go out sometime in the middle part of September when you broke your hand, and then didn't come back until late October. What did that adversity of being at the tail end of your career, having to sit out, and what may have been, you wanting to make a statement and put a cap on your senior year, what did you learn? How did you grow? And then what were some of the challenges of having to be on the sideline and watch your teammates perform, knowing that you want to be out there, knowing how valuable you are to that program? What are some of the things that came with that?
The biggest thing was staying mentally locked into everything. So that year when I got hurt, it allowed me to step into that leadership role that I spoke on earlier on. And so I had to be more vocal. I'm not that much of a vocal guy. So me not being able to be on the field allowed me to speak and see what I like, speak my mind a lot more. And so just during that time, it was kind of tough, to be honest. No offers at that moment of time. So just was eager to get back, to be honest.
And missing that time, does it make you hungry for when you do get cleared to play? 6 weeks of not having contact, not hitting, not being out there, going against someone else in another jersey. Does that fuel you to come back with a vengeance when you return?
Yeah, to be honest, I was thirsty, man. Like I came back the second week in the playoffs, and like one of the main things was I got to get the first tackle when I'm like, and I actually did, So like just creating that hunger. I was just sitting there watching all like my boys ball out during that year, and thankfully, like they upheld, they end on like just winning and doing what they need to do, give me an opportunity to come back and play. I was like ecstatic, like, just to get back on the field for my senior year.
With the different levels of classification that are in the state of New York, that 2A level here in Ohio, we go by numbers, and the divisions are 1 through 7, with 1 being the highest classification, 7 being the lowest. What does 2A, where does that fall in the state of New York system?
That's the highest.
That is the highest. And
Yes,
then in your state, do they separate private from public, or do you all play in the same pool for playoffs?
There are a couple, like, well, there's public and then there's a Catholic league. We didn't play in the Catholic league. We actually like played a lot of Catholic schools other like in that league, but by the time playoffs, we only played in Section 5. Well, like that's the public schools and all that.
You made reference to, prior to your injury, not having any offers. We watched some footage of yourself at that high school level during various points of your career. You obviously have a lot of talent, a lot of skill, a lot of ability. It's very evident in watching you play and the way that you approach and played the game during that time of your life, that you had a desire to be great and be an impact player. For you in this climate of rankings by stars, NIL deals, attention, Instagram, social media, if you can go back to that point prior to being injured and not having any bona fide offers at that point. What is your approach in terms of making it to the next level? Um, did you have the thought that, as long as you do what you have been doing, that it would all work out in the end? Or did you have any concerns that at the end of all your work and all your effort, that there might not be an opportunity for you?
I mean, that thought of like doubt does creep in a little bit, but it was all new to me and my family. Like, I was the first one to actually go uh, and make it, like, to the point I am now. Besides my cousin, I do have cousins around the same age as me, and we basically did it at the same time. So it was all new to us. So it was just like, I just felt like it was going to either work out or, hey, I just got to buckle down for real life.
As the stats rolled by earlier, you had 62 carries for 897 yards and a 14.5 yards per carry average. That's obscene in terms of football and making plays. When you get the interest coming from the college level after you complete your season, what were some of the opportunities that came your way initially?
It was a lot of D2 and couple interest from the D1 level, but no one actually pulled the trigger. The team that ultimately ended up going to is UB, and they showed like a lot of interest. They was like, kept in contact with me like throughout the whole process, and that just showed me that they was really interested and everything was genuine. So like it wasn't like, of course, it's my only like real like D1 offer. Why not take it? But just because it like all the flashes and the name don't mean it's necessarily good. So I felt like talking to the coaches there, that was a big deciding factor for me.
And that, as you take that opportunity to accept the delayed gray shirt year to join the team, playing in the MAC level, University of Buffalo, they've been through transition throughout their history. When I was a student and a player at Edinboro, they were in their transition year from going from Division III to 1AA to that D1 level. So we kind of caught them right as they were making the transition from 1AA to Division I. We split with them. We went up one year in '93 and snuck out a win, and then we come back up there in '96 and got beat. They were full Division I at that point. You know, Arriving on campus in 2020 and being ready to get into full participation. Can you give some description of the adaptation leaving from that high school level, the success, being a key cog in for your school and your team with Aquinas, and then having to prove yourself all over again at the D1A level? How was that experience for you? What were some of the challenges in getting used to the college game?
Yeah, so I was just blessed to have like a good backing. Like, my dad just repeated himself, like just saying like, hey, it's football, main thing is speed and strength. So just going just being on campus in general was more surreal than anything. Like, just coming from a small town, Rochester, going to Buffalo is a lot bigger. So just getting adjusted to that and how how fast everything is. Just outside of football, you're more of adult now, so you have to be where you need to be on time. Just basically just managing everything. That was the biggest thing.
And getting your first experience against Akron, that's 40 minutes away from my hometown, Youngstown, Ohio. Can you tell me a little bit about getting your first carries in a college game and the process of solidifying yourself as a bona fide Division I running back?
Yeah, that a lot of nerves going into that game, first time being on the field uh at that level. So just wanted to make sure I didn't really step too far out and do do not what I was trained to do, So that was the main thing, just being focused on, performing my task.
And in this multimedia era that we live in, we're inundated with a lot of information, a lot of highlights, a lot of clicks. Um, when you see what it is from the inside out, and you're practicing, you're putting in work, you're training, you're balancing your studies. Um, you know, what's your opinion of Mid-American football uh, in comparison to what you may see come across the ticker or pop on ESPN or in this instant media era that we are living in? What is that like? Did you think that it met your expectations of what Division I football was, or in your opinion, is there a difference between the Power Five, the Mid-American level, and then mid-major football? What are your thoughts on that?
Uh, my thoughts are the biggest difference is the mental aspect, just how everybody approaches their business. When you step up into those like higher epsilon like names and stuff like that, they are real tough on you, real everything's more tight knit, so they really keep you on in a structured path. Like it ain't too much straying away from deviating to do this, do that. This is the path, and that's what it is. That's how I look at it. And so just even from the me transferring to here, that was the biggest difference that I seen. And that's why, like, just going throughout my days while I'm here, I try to tell like my teammates, my guys around me, that the main thing is their focus, paying attention to detail.
You spend 2020 through the 2023 season at University at Buffalo. You transition into being a defensive back towards the tail end of your career there. You're one of the few guys that I've had the opportunity to talk to that experienced college athletics through the COVID era. What were some of the challenges that came with that, adjusting to some of the shutdown, and how did you guys approach and handle that as a program and as athletes going through that period in our history?
It was actually it was tough, like just due to the fact that the team was split, like when we first came back. So like half the time I went and see like some guys. I'll probably just see like the other running backs, or like a couple guys that I know from the Rochester area that just in passing time, because we wouldn't be able to like actually sit down and connect. So like that kind of separated the team in a way, just because it's COVID, you had to keep your distance from everyone. So yeah, that was the toughest thing, just trying to battle through that. And then we was out actually blessed to have a 6-game season where we really performed really well, and ended up getting a bowl game out of it. So that's the main takeaways from that season.
You make the decision to come to Penn West University as a grad transfer. You earned your degree in media studies from University at Buffalo. Can you talk about what was the driver in your decision to choose coming to Penn West?
I needed a different scenery. I'm, like I said before, I'm more of a laid back, reserved type of person. So, just seeing this area, how like tight knit it was like refreshing almost, because a lot of things, like, being in a city, like the big city, a bigger city, is like everything just moving fast. Everything's just not what it seems to be, So, And actually on my visit, I got to run into a couple players that was on the team, and just seeing how they interact with each other and seeing how they approached me, just not knowing me. And it was just like, wow, like I feel like it's a real connection here. So I would like to be a part of it, you know.
Did you have any knowledge about the PSAC prior to coming there, or was that your first exposure once you arrived as a student?
I had a little knowledge on it. I didn't have as much as I do now, but I actually have a old teammate of mine play here a couple years back. Keyshawn, he was a quarterback, and like so, like I kind of had an idea of Edinboro.
Now, the conference has certainly went through changes since I was a player there. When we were there, we had 6 teams on the East, 6 teams on the West, all Pennsylvania-based schools. Some of those schools have dropped out of playing and participating in that league. You've had a few different teams that have transitioned in and out, and then the net is a little bit wider in terms of some of the schools being outside of the state of Pennsylvania. For myself, coming there, I had opportunities for Division I football, but Edinboro showed the most interest and uh, gave me an indication that I'd be able to play a little bit earlier there. To be honest, I thought Division II was beneath me initially arriving as a player back in '93, but you quickly realize that you know there's still 11 people on one side of the ball, there's 11 on the other, and then people have their own goals and aspirations, and then you're still within the team concept. I quickly realized that that level of football and that conference and the people that you're exposed to when you're playing in that league, you run into a lot of great competition. You have some schools in that league that have a long history of winning. And then, the games are tough and people are competing at a level that I would think the ones at D1 are competing. We had the fortune to play Portland State, Appalachian State, and University of Buffalo to test ourselves against higher competition. So, that at least satisfied the part of knowing that you could if you would have had the opportunity. But I grew to appreciate, just how tough it is to go out there and win a championship at that school. The athletes that you run across and the ability of some of those players, you see some guys that you wonder how they even get to that level. For you, what's been your experience going up against that Division II competition, and what are your overall thoughts of the experience and playing there?
Um, it's real competitive. It wasn't really a surprise because, like I said, ball is ball. Like that's how I look at it. And being here is just no different from being at UB almost. Like I just put one foot in front of the other and like try to just compete the same way always have. And playing against the guy like the other guys in the conference. Yeah, they definitely bring it too. So just yeah, that's about it.
You make second team all PSAC last season, put up 472 yards on 92 carries. So you're over 5 yards a carry. You're displaying that ability and that skill that you showed as a high school athlete. You are coming to the end part of your college career. What are your goals for the rest of this season? And, how do you want to go out as a player and wrapping up your experience playing for the Fighting Scott?
Mainly, I'm only thinking about winning to be honest. Nothing really personally, because like at the end of the day, the team success is going to lead to like your own individual success. So my main thing is just like helping my team win games.
After the game against Cal, I had the good fortune of briefly meeting Coach Matt Scott. Can you talk a little bit about his influence and his transition in as the head coach? To my knowledge, he's the first African American head coach up there. Can you give some insight into who he is as a man and the job that he does in leading your program?
Uh, he's real structured based. So like, and that's what I was meaning. Like, just the transition from the place I was before UB and here now with Coach Scott. He shows a lot of structure and discipline that wasn't still there. Like, it felt familiar. So with him coming in and him being the only one there when he first got here for the first couple months, he like did a good job of like just showing us like the lifts and just running practice and how he would like things to be run, like real organized and detail based.
And as he gets his footing and he's able to integrate guys of his choosing as he goes forward with his career, what is your prediction for a man of his caliber and the direction that he's going and turning around that program to be on top?
He's gonna bring championships. he's definitely gonna turn this thing around here.
As you're pursuing your post-secondary studies and getting closer to obtaining a graduate degree, what are the things that you would like to do in your future, and what industry do you see yourself in post the athletic experience?
I'd like to be in like media. So like I like doing graphic designing, being a videographer. I'm more of a creative type of person outside of ball, and that's really what I like. I have a big drawing to. It just gives me peace almost, It's an outlet for me.
And in saying that, do you envision yourself as an employee for an organization, or do you envision yourself as the leader of your own creation?
I mean, it steps to it. So like, whatever, like however it comes, like, I obviously wouldn't mind being an employee to learn like a lot more. But I do envision myself having my own someday.
In 45 minutes that we've spent discussing your experience, the great talent that you displayed as a high school athlete, and then some of those challenges and adversities that you've gone through as a young man early on, it shows in your character. The short interaction and meeting you a couple weeks ago, there's just something about you as a person and your presence and your poise that you can tell that you're a special individual. For yourself, you're actively engaged in your playing career, but if you had one more down for yourself to replay, redo, or change, for you, what would that be if Caron Robinson had one more down to repeat or do over again?
Just mainly just believing in myself. It was a time where things got a little crazy for me, like mentally, and self-doubt start to creep in. That's always a dangerous space to be in. So luckily I was able to turn that around and find myself again. So with that being said, like I'd like to just probably go back and mainly just bet on myself.
My words that I said about you earlier, I don't have a lot of interpersonal experience with you, but everything that I see, the way that you carry yourself, I expect and I hope for you that the path going forward is open wide and that you're open to all those opportunities that may come your way. You wrap up this season and go out on a high note, whatever that means for you. But post the athletic experience, just make sure that you don't live with any regrets about what was, and that you keep that same attitude and spirit about yourself going forward. I think that when it's all said and done, you're going to end up on top in life. I think you'll end up on top as a person. And I think that you'll be a light and an asset for others and leading going forward. I appreciate you coming on tonight and giving me some of your time. I wish you a lot of luck and good fortune going against Gannon this week. And then, whatever is left for you in terms of toting that rock, whether it be there or at a higher level, just give all that you got, and then continue to be the great person that you project and that you display in your interactions with people. So thank you for being a guest tonight. I look forward to watching you perform and meet your goals and your benchmarks for the duration of this season.
Sir, thank you.